W.
T. L.
It's a big, hairy American winning machine. You ain't first, you're last.
W.
T. L.
All right, nice, huh? Got a talk show here, talk show with my mic. I got everything.
W.
T. L.
All he does is work out and hit runs. 10 and 2, 85% weekend. You're a mutant.
W.
T. L.
Brings me to my next point. Don't smoke crack.
And welcome to WTL, everybody. I'm your host, Andy Klassen, joined by
Jabron, the Parlay Pounder. We're back in the house, baby.
Hey, and the seasons are changing.
Yeah.
So March Madness is over. What a wild ride that was.
Crazy.
So much fun. I actually had the Peacocks knocking off.
It was a bird, but not the right bird. The Jayhawk is superior to the Peacock.
I just had to go back in time and just erase some of those tweets.
Yep.
Now we're all good.
Clear. Yeah,
We're
we
clear.
had Kansas the whole time.
But we're going to talk some fantasy baseball today, and then
Yes,
just
sir.
straight up betting baseball. We're just going to start with some of the basics, and
Yeah.
actually have a guest here with us. One of the first we've had on the program.
Heck yeah.
Matt Plotchik.
How you doing, you guys?
Now, we heard from talking about birds,
Yeah.
from a little birdie, that you know your stuff when it comes to fantasy baseball.
I don't want to brag a little bit, but
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah.
But I've ran a league here in the Omaha Metro for about the last 12 years. Took it over from my good buddy,
Wow.
and it's quite the competitive league, that's for sure. But you have to have the right makeup managers to make it work. So
Yeah, no
I'm
doubt
blessed
about
with
it.
that.
Yeah, so you're exactly somebody like you is what we're looking for, especially for a lot of our listeners that are kind of learning about fantasy sports and sports betting and sports gambling.
Mhm.
Especially now it's becoming legalized in Nebraska. People don't have to go to South Dakota, go to Iowa, go to Kansas, or where people typically
Yeah,
are.
for sure. Or under the rug, kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So let's just start off with some of the basics. I think there's two different types of baseball drafts. You got your Rotisserie or Roto, and then your head-to-head. So, like, what is that? What are those two types of drafts, and what's the difference there?
So your rotisserie drafts are basically going to be accumulation of stats that are across your team from like batters, hitters, etc. And you get a cumulative run on based on how many teams you have. So if you have 12 teams in your league, you get a point total from 1 to 12. 1 is horrible, 12 is good.
12 is good.
That's what you want.
And then the other half of that is your head-to-head, and that's the league that I run. We are a head-to-head league. Basically, you have your X amount of categories depending on what kind of league you're running, and it's all about getting the more stats than the other person or have the lower ratio, things like that.
So,
sure.
And you can weight that. Being the manager, or the commissioner, we'll call it, you can weight like what an RBI is worth. Kind of like in football or fantasy football, you can have a point per reception type of league. I'm assuming you can just go crazy in baseball because there's just so many stats happening every inning.
Right. For us, we just keep it pretty flat across the board. You have more home runs than the other dude, you're going to get the point.
That's a category.
That's a category. RBI. We do a lot of ratios in my league, so we do on-base percentage, ERA, WHIP. That's earned run average, and then walks to hits to innings pitched, among others.
Yeah. No, we just started one up, Andy. Just kind of, we're just learning about it as well. That's why we kind of wanted to bring the expert in and, kind of pick his brain about the league that we're starting. And ours is a head-to-head, 10 categories, 5 batting, 5 pitching. I think it's kind of a standard thing. But yeah, I just got in there and kind of just went home run heavy. Is that a good strategy or?
Well, it kind of depends on if you have like a need for like total bases, which is another thing that we have for a category. That's also a tiebreaker because we actually go what's called a 7x7. So we have a mixture of your hitting stats such as batting average, OPS, things like that. So you have to have a nice equal balance. Home runs is always a good thing, and especially in the day of, I think, juice balls, let's be honest.
No, don't talk about that.
Yeah,
don't
that
talk
never
about
happened.
That. We can talk about gambling in Nebraska now, but we can't talk about the balls.
juice balls.
Well, I'm sorry. Damn it.
Anyway, you're good.
So bottom line is that you want to build up a team that's going to be the most
well-rounded.
Yeah, you want well-rounded. So not just you want a bunch of Albert Pujols guys that are going to bat 200 and hit 50 home runs, but you also need guys that are going to steal bases, get on base, have batting average, things like that.
Yeah, the whole thing that I was looking at is like I would just literally categorizing guys by last year's home run total or whatever, and then I look at their on base percentage and their average, and it's sitting there at 168, 200.
Right.
The guy has 30 home runs, but he also strikes out every other time.
Yep, and that's usually going to bode not too well for a week-to-week matchup.
No doubt.
Sure.
Yeah, and in football, I like to have a prime time type of performer at each position. So I want to have a class 1 receiver. I want to have a top 5 type of quarterback. I want to have a top tier running back. That's kind of difficult to do.
Yeah.
So that's what I was looking. That's kind of how I did my baseball draft.
Right.
And then I thought, hey, I got a pretty decent looking lineup here. And then I looked at some other people's draft, and they already had 4 pitchers.
Yeah.
And I had 0.
Yeah, it kind of makes you look back at the draft and say, where did I go wrong, kind of thing.
Well, I was going to say, we just had our fantasy draft this past Saturday. We met at Pizza West down on Maple Street, and I made the classic mistake you just spoke of. And, I look at my roster. Oh, I've got all these hitters looking really awesome. Yeah. Then I look at my pitching side, and I'm like, oh, crap. I have no depth. None whatsoever. As a matter of fact, I am empty 1 baseball slot or 1 pitching slot.
Oh, man.
What an epic fail. And I've been doing this how long now? Come on.
I mean, it's about scoring points.
Yeah.
The guys holding the bats are the ones that score the points.
Half of them anyways.
Yeah, the other half is all about the pitching, and that's where you got to win in this league, is have those right ratio of strikeouts.
No doubt. But what I kind of wanted to get from you is who are you think, like, are there breakout players this year that people should be, kind of looking at for, later in the draft or at the start of the draft, that like some guys you just want to, jump on early, and then some guys you want to jump on late?
Well, one thing you want to look for is, are there any rookies that are breaking out, that are breaking with the Major League camp? And you can't argue locally, then start with the conversation, Bobby Witt Jr. with the Royals.
Here we go.
I mean, I'm a Royals guy, and yet the numbers don't lie. The dude raked in Double-A. Even his taste that he had in Omaha last year.
Yeah, no doubt.
The dude can flat out hit. Now, typically, those kind of players are a bit of a risky take unless they have a proven background.
Exactly.
And one of my buddies has him, and he kept him because our league is a keeper league, meaning you can keep so many people from the previous year.
Yep.
We always give him crap and tell him, hey, Vamosi, you think Bobby Witt's going to actually do anything this year?
Right.
Shut up.
Yeah.
So, but he's probably one, I would say, would be one if you can wait till like the mid rounds in a regular draft. Good luck, cross your fingers kind of thing.
Exactly. No, but like you were talking, but with Bobby Witt, I went to the Futures game last year in Colorado or whatever, right before the home run derby, and that was the buzz around the whole city was just Bobby Witt Jr., Bobby Witt Jr., Bobby Witt Jr. And, being close to Kansas City, you hear rumblings that this guy is the next.
Right, exactly.
So, I mean, guys like that, I feel, since the word's out, those guys don't last. If the football league I'm in is very competitive. So if you have a guy that you want, you better reach, because otherwise he's gone by the time that goes down and back up. And that's called a snake draft. Is that typically what you see most predominantly in baseball? Does it go right back up to 1 and back down? How does that work?
So what we do is a reverse serpentine draft. So we start off with the first pick, and that's determined based on last year's regular season. So I had pick number 5 this year, so I had 4 guys in front of me, and then I had the number 5 selection for the first round, and then we'd cycle back around, so I ended up with number 8 for that second round, and then cycle through.
Oh, nice.
That's kind of a crazy way to do it, but pretty fun, obviously.
Oh, yeah, it makes you think about who you got to have, and gosh, that dude right before me took him, so of course we're going to heckle him. It's like, why'd you take that guy?
No doubt.
So
I feel like that's the biggest part of that was kind of missed out with all the craziness past couple of years when leagues got shut down or suspended, whatever. This is camaraderie, especially in the fantasy side,
Yeah.
that we're talking about here. Just bringing 10, 12 buddies together in kind of a competitive manner. It's fun,
Yeah.
A lot of times there's some, might be some money on the table. Whatever. Once again, that's
Yes,
under
sir.
the rug.
That's under the rug.
A lot of it. But, it brings guys together, gals together, and it's all fun. At the end of the day, it's just a way for everyone to just have a good time.
Right. And, I've got 12 managers that are exactly like that. They may not necessarily make the live draft. Like, I had a guy this year, I got to go to the Masters for a practice round. I'm like, dude, you suck. But you got to do what you got to do.
You got to do it. You got to do it.
But, bottom line, when it comes to fantasy baseball, you got to be in it and know what's going on and just have a good group of dudes like I do.
Yeah, it's a thing you got to keep on top of daily. Not just and you got to look into the future a little bit as well. Is this guy gonna be the reliever down the way after this guy blows a couple saves? Is this guy just a setup man? Do I really need him on my roster, kind of thing?
Right.
Playing throughout the years, you kind of pick this stuff up, but not necessarily if you're just getting into it.
Yeah, and you mentioned relievers. In fantasy baseball, relievers are a very, very precious commodity. Like, there's only so many that are going to be legit, like, save opportunity kind of guys.
For sure.
What we've done in our league is we actually have holds as a category. So that doesn't just open up to starting pitchers and closers for those basic stats, but now we have, hey, you want to pick up that one dude that just comes in and shuts things down for an inning?
Yeah.
Well, it gets worth for that guy now, too.
Yeah, the 7th inning guy, the 8th inning guy still get a category other than the 2 strikeouts that they put in for you.
Right.
Because that's not a huge body of work for somebody that's taking up a roster spot. If he just gets a strikeout and, if he, somebody hits a home run off him, there's no really coming back for a stat on that guy.
Exactly.
So are there, certain players or just straight up even teams that you want to stay away from? I'm looking at, the National League West. There's so many dominant pitchers. Do you want to, if it comes down between a batter for the San Francisco Giants versus the same type of caliber batter for, let's say, the Tampa Bay Rays, would you want to lean towards the Rays just because they might not face the same type of pitching night in and night out as that batter, in the NFL? I'm just using it as an example.
Yeah.
I would say lean on a guy towards the Giants because you have to think about where that player is going to play. He's going to have the opportunity to play in Colorado.
Yeah.
Colorado, thin air.
Right.
Better chance at possibly getting some home runs and RBI opportunities, things like that. Now, eventually that opportunity, that advantage is going to go away as Major League Baseball is going to interrupt for all teams are going to play everybody.
Yeah, it's going to be the whole interleague kind of thing. Yep.
So you're thinking more of the ballparks, not necessarily the player, because the numbers just kind of play themselves out.
Exactly.
Wherever they're at.
Exactly. And then you have an advantage like Coors Field with the thin air.
Yeah.
You can't turn down an opportunity like that.
Yeah.
So talking about the Rockies a little bit here, obviously we're, Midwest, they're a team that a lot of people are a fan of in this region. Chris Bryant, you going to have a bounce back here this year, you think?
He's got to.
He's got to.
I know it probably broke Chicago Cub hearts when he got traded.
Yeah, especially the females.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the gals.
Yeah, they're like... But no, the fact that he was signed by the Rockies, I feel like personally it was a coup a little bit because how are you going to be able to afford someone like that? Well...
Get rid of Trevor Story, I guess.
Well, I guess what's going to happen is...
Just ask the LA Rams. How do you
do that? That's cheating. No. They made so much cap room, obviously, with getting rid of Arenado and Trevor Story.
Right.
And, kind of busted up their whole, good thing that they had going on. Now they have Chris Bryant. I'm just hoping that, like you're saying, the thin air there kind of makes him have a bounce-back year and kind of the all-star of the Rockies kind of thing.
Right. His big thing is staying healthy.
Right.
That's what kind of was his bugaboo in Chicago. Yeah, he was he was one of the best prolific hitters that team has had in the last 25 years.
Yeah, long time.
And maybe the change in scenery when he got traded midseason might have helped kind of clear his mind a little bit. But now he's got an opportunity in Colorado to be really something special.
Yeah, literally the best player.
Now, going along those lines, there's a huge change this year in that there's a National League DH. What kind of an impact is that going to have on fantasy, not only on your pitchers, because I would think you would really want to maybe go towards those National League pitchers because they're going to get that automatic out. That's not the case this year. Now you got another 5-hole hitter, basically.
Yep.
Right. Unless you're Madison Bumgarner, I'd be kind of disappointed because that dude could rake. He was a really good
no doubt about it.
As a pitcher. But, DH in the NL now, that opens up opportunity for a guy like Albert Pujols to maybe have a resurrection.
Right.
Exactly.
Now
he can play another 5 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Now I'm not holding my breath on that because the dude's 42 years old, but he's not going to see everyday hitting or everyday pitching kind of thing. But it gives those guys an opportunity to have some value.
Yeah.
They do warn you. They do eat up a position so that they're just going to be straight up just DH, so they can't really go out and play fill out of a spot for first base, things like that.
So does that DH then have to gobble up a third or first base? Is that what you guys are saying?
Well, no. Some fantasy. Are you talking about on a lineup for a fantasy team or stuff? But yeah, no. So when your manager sets up a fantasy league, you can literally make a spot for a DH. I don't know if yours is set up like that. I know ours is. So the way that we drafted, we knew that we had to take a couple DHs just to fill that slot.
Yeah, ours is actually, we have a util spot for it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've got 3 really good first basemen, you can put one in, put another guy in the util spot, and then obviously the third one could be your bench player, and then just cycle through them.
For sure.
So is that probably has more value to it then?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Than
no doubt about it.
So that's where you'd want to lean.
For sure.
Totally.
And like you said about prolonging some of these guys' career, think about somebody like Nelson Cruz that has been a DH, in the American League. Now he's got a whole plethora of teams going to be looking after him now.
Right.
Obviously, he plays for the Nationals now, I believe.
Correct.
So, but now the whole National League will be looking for players like that to fill that slot, which is I think it's cool. Because it's not just that easy out, like Andy was alluding to just a little bit ago.
Yeah, and it adds an entire element. And I mean, baseball's slow. We need more action, yada, yada, yada. That's not how I feel.
Right.
But definitely taking the bat out of a pitcher's hand and putting it into a career, slugger like, you typically see.
Yep.
It's going to liven things up on the offensive end for sure.
Right.
So what's your big... I mean, you got to have like a top 3 here, Matt, of things that you're looking to accomplish when you prepare for a draft and like when you get in the middle of it. Like, don't you got to stay a certain type of course, or what's your like top 3 go-tos?
Well, my first one is I try to build around I just try to go best available initially.
Yeah.
Like I said before, our league is a keeper league, so we get to keep up to 4 players from our previous season. So I had.
So you have a base, pretty much.
Yep. So my base was Mike Trout.
Pretty good.
Perennial top 10.
Yeah.
Manny Machado, and then I had 2 pitchers. I had Robbie Ray and then Jose Barrios. Okay? So both those pitchers, they relocated to new teams in the offseason.
Yeah.
So part of my thinking is, okay, I need to have some type of backup plan, but also I need to be thinking about what is available in the position-wise. So, like, for example, catching. Well, Sal Perez.
Yep, and everyone else.
And then there's a big, giant gap, and then anyone else, right?
Is that some of that Royals fandom seeping in here? Is that the actual way it is?
Yeah, I don't know about that. You can't argue with the guy that hit 48 home runs.
Yeah, yep. You're right.
So, catching is a premium,
no doubt,
position. Shortstop, second base, those are positions that, there's not much out there.
Yeah.
So those are kind of like where I focus a little bit, where there's not as much available as compared to, like, say, outfield.
Yeah.
Well,
you can get those guys anytime.
You can pretty much get those guys anytime, and then you can take a flyer in the late round.
Yeah.
And just hope, hey, this guy projects to be good.
Yeah, as long as he's a daily player, there's going to be that value that he's going to play at least. With those second and shortstops like you're talking about, there's only so many that get that opportunity and so many that produce out of that position.
Right. Next thing is pitching. I mentioned before I made the fatal flaw of not drafting enough pitchers from a roster. So once the free agent wire opened up on Tuesday, me and another buddy, we were just scouring to find somebody. It's like, please get me some innings, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then the third thing is watch the minor leagues.
Oh, geez.
Watch the minor leagues, because if there's someone that gets hot to start off the season, typically those general managers are going to look and notice, and they're going to call those kind of people up.
And the way free agency works, you can make trades and get that guy up. He's not stuck in that farm system anymore. If there's a guy batting 460, there's a path for him to make the big leagues.
Right, and another thing to keep in mind too is now there's slightly more expanded rosters. They're at 28 men this year.
Wow.
So whether that's so managers have a means to fluctuate. Okay, we're going to carry 15 position players and then 13, that kind of thing. So kind of interesting to see how that will play out this year too.
Yeah,
no doubt.
And there's a lot of shakeups in the minor league systems, and I think that's kind of, I don't know if fallout's the right word, but everybody had to kind of reconfigure after they kind of got rid of so many teams at the lower levels.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
So I'm 1 for 2. I took best available. I totally stepped on pitching. What's your third go-to here, Matt?
Well, my third go-to is luck. I'm just gonna call it what it is. Let's just be what it is. I know the last few years I've always found somebody that you look at it, you question them, you're like, huh?
Yeah.
But then that's the type of player that has a breakout year, so that you actually are competitive in some leagues and ultimately lead you to a championship.
Yeah, for sure.
Like Mike Trout was that way for somebody when he first broke into the Angels organization. So it's hard to say who's going to be that guy for 2022.
Yeah, exactly. No, I like what you just said there. It's kind of it's kind of luck. It's kind of looking at a guy that's going to break out for the first time, or it even could be somebody that's had a couple down years that could have a resurgence or something like that. And the guy that I'm looking at right now that could do that this year is Francisco Lindor.
Yeah.
I think he could just, obviously he's been one of the best players in baseball for the last, 5-6 years. Had a pretty down year once he got traded to the Mets. Mm-hmm. I think he's going to be a super banger this year.
Well, you know what? If you believe it, I hope so too, because he's on my team.
Yeah. There you go.
Another name that sticks in my mind for those Yankee fans out there, Aaron Judge.
Yeah.
I mean, the dude can rake. He's 6'7", and he's a monster.
He is so big in there, and it just looks easy.
It is.
When he gets a ball, it's just gone.
He takes a half swing and goes 400 feet.
Yeah, but he's been, like you said, he's kind of been quiet the last couple years, barring injuries and all that kind of stuff. Yep. But he could. There's no doubt in my mind he can put together another 50 home run season with a snap of his fingers.
So not only did I not take any pitching and load up on outfielders that could hit home runs, because they're so tough to find. I also didn't. I got towards the end of the draft. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't have a catcher.
Yeah.
But I feel really good about this, guys. Got LA's Will Smith. I feel like he's just going to smack everybody in the mouth. He's just going to invite himself to the mound and just knock, just right to the face.
Right to the face, and keep his wife's name out your mouth.
You better not be saying something he doesn't want to hear.
Yeah.
He's going to let you have it. So I felt like I kind of lucked out on, players under the radar. This Will Smith, catcher for LA Dodgers.
There you go.
I feel pretty good about that one. That's a true story, by the way.
That's a true story,
All of it.
All of it. All of it. No, I think we kind of just went through the ins and outs of, how you do your draft, how you do your league, and all that kind of stuff. Why don't we, kind of take a break here, Andy, and then come back with some of the, funner betting stuff when it comes to baseball.
Matt, you want to stick around, talk a little baseball betting?
We can do a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, that's what we're here for. Don't go anywhere, folks. This is WTL.